Hey guys, welcome to tutorial number 19, and in this tutorial we are going to continue on our train public transport, in which we want to create a train service alert screen to show to the user if there is any trains that happens to be broken down or under maintenance or etc. So if there is no train that has any problem, we are going to display NA over the screen. Okay. So the source of our information here is going to be the LTA Datamall, section 2.11 train service alert. I'm not able to show you how the data looks like in Postman, because when there's no train that is under any maintenance or service, you are not going to get any data by sending a GET request to the API. But in the documentation, it actually shows you that what kind of attributes and example of data that you can get. For example, you can get line, which line of which train line is under is affected at the moment, then which direction, and then which stations particularly are affected, and then if there is any free public bus or free MRT shuttle to help you to transit from one place to the other if that particular train is affected. And then it also shows you something like message, for example, no train service between Harbourfront to Dhoby Ghaut, blah blah blah, and then when is the created date and time. So if you go to page 49 of the documentation, 49, okay, or 47, or maybe look at 49. So it will show you some example about the type of data that we can get from the API if there is any train that is under service or maintenance. It will be something like this. Under the value, you will have the status, affected segments, and also the message. So we are interested on the affected segments and the message, and we want to display something like this on our screen. Also, we want to display something like this on our screen. If you manage to display that on your screen, it will look something like this, and then it should be in the scroll wheel if the message is so long that it exceeds the screen, and then it should be wrapped according to the size of your screen. So if you have a big font with a big screen, then your text can be longer in one line, and then if you have a small font with a smaller screen, the text should be wrapped into more or multi lines for one long sentence. Okay, so without further ado, let's look at how we can do that. This is where we stopped in the last tutorial, which in the MRT ORD screen we have a map view, and then we have all the train services with the pop-up MD dialog. And if we click on the service alert screen, it's going to crash before we haven't created a service alert screen. So let's get to our tutorial 19 in our learndatascienceq.com. In the step 1, I explained about LTA Datamall section 2.11, and then in the step 2, always we want to create a screen if you want to have a new screen. So we want to have a new class, and then in our main.kv, always we want to include the kv file that we are going to create in the kv folder. So let's copy this, and then under the screen manager, we also want to have our train service alert screen. Okay, next we want to create a train service alert screen.kv in the kv folder, and then inside it, let's copy this and paste it here. Okay, so as usual, we will have a float layout, and then instead of grid layout, we will have a scroll view. Under the scroll view, we have an MD grid layout. Okay, so this MD grid layout is going to be the place where we put our text, and the ID is going to be train service alert grid, and the position of it is going to be at the top, 89.5%. The top 10% is going to be our title, like this. Top 10%, then we are going to position it at 89.5%, and it's going to take up 79.5% of the screen. And then the last 10% is going to be another grid layout, which is going to be our label button, back, MRT LRT, service alert, trend map, and also the trend fare. So it's going to be the same as our MRT LRT screen. So yeah, we can just copy paste the bottom navigation bar. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is under the main.py, under the change screen function, okay, we need to add this. Okay, let's go to the bottom. So if screen name is going to be equal to trend service alert screen, we want to change the title to trend service alert, which means here I want to change to trend service alert, and then in the trend service alert grid, sorry, I define trend service alert grid is going to be equal to trend service alert screen.id.trend service alert grid. So this variable is referring to our Kivy file trend service alert screen. Here it's going to refer to my MD grid layout here. Okay, so next, step number 17, we want to import request and Json. That is let's see, probably I put it here. So we will need to use request and JSON for us to send a GET request to the LTA Datamall API. Okay, and let's create a class called trend service alert.py. This is going to be our label on the screen. Okay, so we're going to instantiate this class, and then we want to add to our trend service alert grid. Later on, we want to create a trend service alert label inside this trend service alert.py. Oops. Then we want to instantiate it and then add to this trend service alert grid. Okay, so yeah, let me explain what this is about. So we have two classes here. One is called trend service alert affected segments, which is this one, the affected segments. I want to display this data. The other one is going to be trend service alert message, which is this one. I want to display the content of the message and also the created date. Okay, so both of them are going to be label. Okay, label. So the label is going to display the text. Okay, and I have a long string of text, and later on I'm going to bind to this whole thing with equal to lambda x label.setter blah 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 text size blah blah blah. So the whole thing here is a special function that help us to wrap the text. If you have a long string like this, okay, this thing is going to help us to make the string to fit to the size of your screen. So first you define a label. The label content is going to be text equal to, you can define the size equal to 20 for now. When we deploy it to the mobile phone, I want to change it to 50 because our current Windows size is smaller than our actual screen. So for the moment I will put 20 so that it looks nice in the tutorial. And okay, I'm going to say line is quads affected segment line. So later on in our main.py, I'm going to instantiate this class, and then I'm going to pass several keys and values here. Okay, including affected segments, station. Okay, so okay, this is an example of the information I will pass from our main.py. Okay, so the line I'm going to put the information quad affected segment key of line. So it's going to display this information here, and then next line, and then direction, I'm going to display the direction. Then the station, I'm going to display the station. Free public bus, I'm going to display the free public bus. And then free MRT shuttle direction. Okay. So you can use this to define the color of your text, which is black color in this case. And then you can also use this one and this one to define the size of your text. But the most important thing is this one, which is to wrap your text, okay, inside, to make it fit into the screen that you have. And then last but not least, make sure that you self.add widget this label to your class. Okay, same thing happened to the trend service alert screen. We have a label, and then we have a function to wrap the text. Okay, and then we add the label to the class. Okay, for here we are going to pass the message to this class. Okay, then we go to our main.py. Make sure you import these two class at the top, which is from trend service alert, import trend service alert message and trend service alert affected segment. And then lastly, in the change screen function, we want to perform get request when we are in the trend service alert screen. So let's copy this, and I'm going to explain what is going to happen. Make sure we have the right indentation. Okay, so first we define the path to the API, which is going to be trend service alert. You can find it in your documentation. Section 2.11. This is the path. Oops. Come on. History. Train service. Okay. Yeah, this is the path. And then our URL is going to be equal to base URL plus the path. And then we send a request.get to this URL, and then we use the json.load to get the response. So as I mentioned just now, if there is any train that is under maintenance or service, we are not going to get any data. So here I created a sample data based on documentation. So I'm going to use this sample data to display to you what is going to happen if you have any train service alert data from the API. So this sample data is a replacement of this for the showing in this tutorial. So the data is going to look like this. You have a value, status, affected segment, and message. So we want to pass this affected segment to this train service affected segment class. Then we want to pass this message to the train service alert message class, and then we want to instantiate these two class. So also if there is no any when there is no any data here, we want to display NA. So later I'm going to show you why I have this affected segment NA data, message NA data. Okay, so we will first check if the train service alert grid has got any of these two class. If yes, then we will remove them. Okay, we will check if this screen has got any of these two class. We'll remove it before we create a new one. So to create a new one, we will first check if the sample data key value key affected segment has got any data. In this case, yes, because this is our sample data. If yes, then for each affected segment in our sample data value affected segment, for each of these, this is 1, this is 2, for each of these, we are going to create a class, instantiate it, and then we are going to pass the data affected segment is equal to affected segment. So this is how we pass the data to the class, and then we add this class to our screen. Okay. If there is no data, then we will pass the affected segment NA data, which is this one, and in that case, your screen will display NA for all these variable. Okay. So the same for the message. If there is any message, for all the message, we will create the train service alert message, and then we will pass the message to the class, instantiate it, and then we add it to the grid. Okay. If there is no data for the message, we are going to display NA as well. Okay. So when we deploy to the mobile phone, we want to change this sample data, okay, to our actual train service alert response. Okay. This is just for demo purpose. In this case, I use sample data, but in the actual case, you should use train service alert response to replace your sample data over here. Replace this, replace this, replace this. Okay. Save, and then when we run it, now when we go to MRT LRT screen, when we click on the service alert, boom. Now you see we have a scroll view of all the affected segment, and also the message and the created date. This is our sample data. So if my screen is becoming bigger, you can see that my text will become longer. Okay. This is how this is what this function is doing to help me to wrap the text as the screen size is changed. So this is dynamic way of handling the text display in different devices. Okay. Yeah. So let's say in this case, for example, let's change the sample data to this train service alert response. Let's change it and save it. If you run it, then if you go to train service alert, now it's going to show you NA, because now we are using train service alert response, and at this point of time in Singapore, there's no any train that is under any service or fault, and therefore we don't have any value in here. If there's not any value, it's going to send the affected segment NA data and then message NA data to the class, and this is going to be displayed on your screen. Okay, that's why we will have this. Yeah, just now for the purpose of showing you if you have any train under service, how the data will looks like on your screen. Okay, that's why just now I'm using the sample data. Okay, but in actual condition, you should use the train service alert response on your app. Okay, I think that's all for today, and then in the next tutorial we are going to look at train map, which is going to be quite fun, because we will make the map to be zoomable, and then movable as well. Okay, so that is going to be fun. And hope you like the video, and recommend it to your friend if you like it. Also, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more and better videos coming. Okay, see you in the next one.